Hello, I'm Deanna Springer, live at the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show with insights to this year's event. I'm joined by Melissa Mason for her Modern Motion Special Quilt Exhibit. Melissa, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be
Your
here.
quilts are beautiful.
Thank you.
We need to talk about several of them.
Okay, let's talk about
You
it.
have a special exhibit going on
do.
all weekend long, and you're also teaching.
I
so
am.
let's talk about what your lecture is about.
Yeah, so I'm teaching and lecturing. One of the things I like to talk to quilters about is finding inspiration in their own stories. I love how we get inspired by other people's patterns and creations, and then I also love when we can take that a step further and put ourselves into it and start taking those baby steps towards becoming our own designers. So in my lecture, I talk a little bit about my own design inspiration, how I pull into my own story, my family history, my cultural background, and think about how that might inform my designs and the quilting that I do.
So the quilt we're looking at that has the white background, tell us a little bit about that quilt.
Yeah, so I talk about this in my lecture because as I talk about looking into your past, pulling from your background, I have a series of quilts that this is the first one of, and it's inspired by the folklorico skirts that I used to dance in when I was a little girl, growing up on the border of Texas and Mexico as a little Mexican-American girl. And it's just such a colorful, vibrant part of my childhood. I love the motion and the flow of those skirts. And as a modern quilter, I wanted to try and make that quilt in a more minimalist, constrained way. So I just kind of added some geometric elements, some bold colors, which is what I love using, and just really played with it from there.
That's a great piece.
Thank
and
you.
the next quilt next to that?
Yeah, so I love this one because, as you can tell, I love color. And I was given a challenge to basically use the entire rainbow of a fabric line. And what I wanted to do is pay homage to the cotton history, the quilting history of cotton, of kind of the shape of that blossom, playing with curves and color. What does it mean to put these in motion and in conversation with each other in a way that wasn't just kind of flat and static?
It has great motion.
Thank
Great
you.
job. And the next piece.
As you can tell, I love a rainbow. So this one I was playing with the idea of a gradient, which is something that I teach in my color theory class that I'm teaching here this week. Using a gradient to really pull your eyes in. Now this one is cool because it's a beautiful, clean quilt, but it comes from a little bit of an ugly story. So years ago when the California wildfires were raging, the smoke settled in our little valley in northern Utah. And it was very sad, the stories coming out of California. And at the same time, in the evenings, we had the most beautiful
Sunsets.
Yeah, and so I
Absolutely.
call this one Smoke Set. And it's kind of inspired by that idea that out of tragedy, out of ugliness, we can get such beauty.
We had a similar situation with the Canadian wildfire
Yeah.
fires coming down into
So
South Central
you
Wisconsin.
feel a little guilty
But-
looking at those beautiful
right.
colors.
And then at nighttime,
Yeah.
the beautiful beauty was showing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the quilt behind us.
I love this one. This one is one of my favorites. It hangs in my office at home when it's not on the road or in exhibits. This is called Sonder, and this actually comes from exploring my own family history. It was a passion of my grandfather's and something that we kind of shared together. And as I sat down with him to talk about this history, to learn his own history, it just occurred to me that realization that every person around us is this complex individual. Every person walking past us in this hall, all of those tens of thousands of people that are here this week have these complex stories.
take a look.
Being able to celebrate that. So yeah, so I really wanted to celebrate that. It's called Sonder, which is a word that evokes that. It means that, kind of that realization of the complexity of each individual person. And so with this, I wanted to play with a lot of different colors and lines and also take it in unexpected ways and sudden interruptions. I really wanted someone to look at it and try and follow it and get a little bit confused.
Every quilt has a story.
Exactly.
And tell us the story of how you started quilting, Melissa.
Well, it's a little unusual. So I started quilting in a different way than most people. I was living in Cairo, Egypt at the time, and I was also pregnant with my oldest child. So I was nesting. So I needed to be creating something, but I didn't know what to do. And one day I stumbled upon the fabric market in Cairo, which is paradise.
Wow.
So imagine turning a corner and suddenly it's a street where floor to sky is just bolts and bolts of fabric, with these men climbing the bolts to find just the color you need. I didn't know what to do with it, but I wanted it. So I started buying and
by
collecting.
collecting fabric.
Yes. And at some point, my husband was like, I'm going to bring you a sewing machine when I go back to the U.S. this week. And so he brought me a sewing machine in his carry-on luggage, and I just watched YouTube videos and tutorials and taught myself how to quilt some really horrible, ugly quilts. But But eventually I
But we
learned.
all start somewhere,
We
right?
all start somewhere.
Well, I think you're doing a fine job.
Thank you so much.
We're
I have
so
fun.
grateful for you joining us.
Thanks for having
this
me.
year at the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show. It's our 20th anniversary.
Congratulations.
So what a way to celebrate.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. To learn more about this year's event and next year's event, head over to quiltshow.com.